It is the only city in the world that the Quran promises was destroyed by God Himself. For centuries, scholars debated whether it was real or legend. Then, in 1992, NASA found it from space. This is the story of Iram of the Pillars, the lost frankincense city of ancient Arabia, the city Allah erased from the map, and that a space shuttle put back on it. The Quran mentions Iram in Surah Al-Fajr, the dawn. The verses describe a people called the Ad and their great city of Iram, a city, the Quran says, of towering pillars, unlike anything ever built in the land. The Quran describes the Ad as the mightiest civilization of their age. They carved their palaces from the mountains. They believed no power on earth could threaten them. According to the Quran, God sent a prophet named Hud to warn them. The Ad refused. The Quran records their response: "Who is mightier than us?" In the Quran's telling, the punishment came as a devastating wind that howled across their lands for 7 nights and 8 days until nothing remained standing. For scholars reading the Quran, the location of Iram was one of the great geographical mysteries. The Quran placed it in a region of southern Arabia associated with the frankincense trade. But for most of recorded history, no one knew exactly where. To understand where Iram might have been, you have to understand what was being traded. The Dhofar region of southern Oman produced the most prized frankincense in the ancient world. Every temple in Egypt burned it. Every Roman ceremony required it. Every ancient act of worship across the Mediterranean depended on a steady supply. The frankincense trade was one of the most valuable in the ancient world. The trade route north from Dhofar crossed some of the most hostile terrain on earth: the Rub al-Khali, the Empty Quarter, the largest continuous sand desert in the world. A major city at the intersection of these routes would have been extraordinarily wealthy. Wealthy enough to build a city of pillars. Wealthy enough to be remembered in the Quran. Wealthy enough that Bedouin oral tradition kept its memory alive for 2,000 years after it disappeared. Bedouin oral tradition in southern Arabia had maintained for centuries a story about a great lost city somewhere in the desert. They called it Ubar, sometimes Iram. The description was always consistent: a wealthy city of great columns, buried by God, somewhere in the southern desert. Western explorers had been searching for it since the 19th century. T.E. Lawrence called it the Atlantis of the Sands. In 1992, the Space Shuttle Endeavour carried a radar imaging system on a mission to study the Earth's surface. When the radar images were processed, researchers noticed something unexpected. Beneath the surface of the desert, invisible to normal photography, ancient caravan tracks were clearly visible. The tracks converged. Multiple ancient caravan routes coming from different directions, all leading to a single point in the Dhofar region of southern Oman. The point was called Shisr. Archaeologist Nicholas Clapp led an expedition to Shisr in late 1992. They found a city. The excavations at Shisr revealed an ancient fortress city of considerable size. The site had an unusual octagonal plan. The architecture matched descriptions of Ubar in ancient sources with remarkable precision. Thousands of pieces of frankincense were found, confirming it as a major way station on the ancient incense route. Radiocarbon dating placed the main occupation between approximately the 3rd century BCE and the 4th century CE, over 600 years of continuous occupation. And then the excavators found how it ended. Beneath the city, a massive underground cavern had gradually weakened the ground. At some point, the cavern collapsed. A large section of the city simply fell into the earth. This explained how a major trading hub could simply vanish without leaving visible ruins on the desert surface. It had not been abandoned. It had been swallowed. One element was not found: the great pillars that gave Iram its name in the Quran. Whether they were destroyed in the collapse, or remain buried, or whether Shisr is not the precise site the Quran describes, archaeologists continue to debate. The site at Shisar is still being excavated. Whether Shisr is definitively the Iram of the Quran remains an open scholarly question. What is not debated is this: somewhere in the deserts of southern Arabia, a great frankincense city existed. It was wealthy enough to be remembered, powerful enough to be warned, and gone thoroughly enough that the world forgot where it was for over 1,000 years. The Quran described it in the 7th century as a city already ancient and already destroyed. Bedouin oral tradition kept its location as a story for 14 centuries, and a space shuttle passing over the empty quarter in 1992 looked through the sand and found where all the roads led. Iram of the Pillars, the city Allah erased from the map, and that NASA put back on it.